You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction. And that, my friends, is the quiet truth most people ignore. We wait for luck, for timing, for someone to come along and fix our financial chaos. But the truth is this. Every fortune begins with a decision, not a dollar. It starts in your mind long before it ever reaches your bank account. You see, the wealthy, truly wealthy, don't just have more money. They have more clarity. They don't think in terms of survival. They think in terms of structure. Most people are trapped not by poverty, but by undisciplined thinking. They have income, but no structure. Ambition, but no direction. They work hard, but never ask, is my money working for me? Let me tell you something personal. I've seen poor people with rich habits and rich people with poor ones. Because wealth is not a number, it is a mindset. And if your thinking is sloppy, undisciplined, fearful, your financial life will reflect it with precision. So today we're going to talk about 7 money rules, not just strategies, but philosophies. These are the rules that successful people live by. They don't just build wealth, they become the kind of person who attracts it, manages it, and multiplies it. And the best part? You don't have to be young, lucky, or a genius. You just need one thing, the willingness to change direction today. One of the greatest revelations in my life came when I realized the world doesn't reward effort alone, it rewards understanding. I worked hard for years. I gave my time, my energy, my sweat. But the truth is, hard work without wisdom is exhausting. I was busy, but I wasn't growing. That changed the moment I made a decision to become a student of money, not just a laborer for it. You don't have to be a Wall Street expert, but you must stop being financially ignorant. Ignorance is not bliss, it's expensive. And in today's world, where access to information is in your pocket, there's no excuse. A book, a podcast, a course, an article, they're all waiting for you. All you need is the decision to grow. I remember sitting in a small apartment, broke and confused. My mentor said, start here. 1 financial principle a week, not a full curriculum, just 1 lesson. I didn't know what compound interest meant. I didn't understand the difference between an asset and a liability. I thought a credit card was free money. But week by week, concept by concept, my mind started changing. And when your thinking changes, your results change. Start simple. Learn what a budget really is, not a prison, but a plan. Learn how taxes work, how debt compounds, how investing doesn't have to be complicated. Just 1 concept a week. Just like physical health needs regular workouts, financial health needs regular learning. That's the gym for your wallet. It's not about memorizing charts or becoming a financial planner. It's about becoming aware, asterisk, aware of where your money is going, aware of how wealthy people think, aware of how opportunity works and how to spot it. The beautiful thing is, once you start learning, money stops being something you fear. It becomes something you understand, something you can influence. And when you gain clarity, you gain confidence. You stop reacting and start leading. Every week, commit to learning. It's not a crash course, it's a lifestyle. Because in the end, formal education might get you a paycheck. But financial education, that's what builds freedom, dignity, and choices. That's what builds your fortune. Now let's get to something that sounds simple, but takes a good amount of discipline. Live on less than you earn, always. Not just when it's convenient, not just in the months where there's a little extra, but as a rule. See, I learned this the hard way. When I was 25, I was broke. Not just broke, and in debt. You know the kind, too much month at the end of the money. And I remember sitting across from my mentor, Earl Schoaf, and he asked me something I'll never forget. He said, have you ever saved even 10 cents from every dollar you've earned? I said, no, Earl, I haven't. And he smiled gently and said, then that's where we'll begin. That day, I began to understand something that's become a core philosophy in my life. It's not about how much you earn, it's about what you keep. There are people making $5,000 a month who are drowning in debt, and others making $1,500 who are slowly building wealth, because it's not income that makes you rich, it's discipline, it's strategy. Now here's the strategy I teach, the 70 divided by 10 divided by 10 divided by 10 rule. You take whatever you earn and you live on 70%, that's your rent, groceries, car, coffee, all of it. Then you take 10% and save it. That's your cushion, your peace of mind. Another 10% you invest, because money that doesn't work is lazy money. And the final 10%, you give it away. That's right, you give. Not because you have to, but because it changes who you are. It makes room. It keeps your heart generous and your hands open. When I first started doing this, it felt impossible. I'd say, I can barely live on 100%. How can I live on 70? But I'll tell you something powerful. If you can't live on 90%, you won't live on 1,000%. It's not a matter of income, it's a matter of control. Most people don't have money problems. They have behavior problems. And when you begin to master this one habit, you not only begin building financial independence, you start becoming someone new. Someone with structure, with order, with vision. The money you manage reflects the person you've become. Let me give you a new way to think about money, one that shifted the entire direction of my financial life. I began to see every dollar I earned as a little worker. Not a decoration in my wallet, not just a number in my account, a worker. And the question I started asking was, is this dollar working for me, or is it unemployed? Most people don't think this way. They get a paycheck, and before they've even held it in their hands, it's already promised to the landlord, to the restaurant, to the shopping app. And what's left is a few exhausted dollars dragging themselves into next week. But the successful, the truly financially free, they see money differently. They're the CEO of their finances. They assign every dollar a task. They say you go build assets, you grow skills, you find opportunity. It's not just spending, it's strategic deployment. Now, I didn't grow up understanding this. I used to think money was just for survival. You earn it, you spend it, and you repeat. Until one day, I looked at my income and realized I was the only one working. My money wasn't doing anything. And worse, some of it was working against me, tied up in interest payments, quick thrills, and impulse purchases that gave me nothing in return. So I made a decision. From then on, I would put my dollars to work, real work. Some went into index funds, simple, low-cost investments that quietly grew. Some went into my own development books, seminars, mentors. That's where real return comes from, the mind. Some dollars went into small business opportunities. And over time, those businesses paid me back with freedom. And yes, some went into real estate because land, like wisdom, appreciates when treated right. Let me ask you a question. If every dollar in your account had to report to you this evening and show you what they've accomplished, would you be proud of their work or embarrassed by their laziness? Because whether you realize it or not, your dollars are following your orders or your lack of them. Direct your money with purpose, and it will reward you with independence. Let it wander, and it will quietly disappear. One of the biggest turning points in my financial life came when I stopped waiting until the end of the month to see what was left over to save and started saving right at the beginning. You see, most people do it backwards. They say, let me spend on what I need. Then if there's anything left, I'll save it. But have you noticed? There's never anything left. That last little bit always finds somewhere to go. A night out, a new gadget, something shiny that fades in a week. Financial discipline doesn't begin with budgeting apps or spreadsheets. It begins with a mindset. The mindset that says, I matter enough to pay myself first, not last, first. The wealthy, the financially free, the ones who sleep peacefully at night, they don't hope to save. They decide to save. And they don't leave it up to memory or willpower. They automate it. I remember when I first began applying this principle. I wasn't earning much, and believe me, I felt the squeeze. But I set up an automatic transfer. The moment the money hit my account, 10% would quietly slip away into another account. No discussion, no emotion, just like brushing my teeth. And you know what happened? I adjusted. Life shifted around the 90%. I didn't miss meals. I didn't collapse. What I gained was something far more valuable than comfort. I gained structure. I gained control. It's not about the amount, it's about the system. Whether it's $20 or $200, what matters is that you're sending a signal to your mind and your money that you're serious, that your future matters, that you're not just a consumer of income, but a manager of it, a leader of it. The real magic is in consistency, because what starts as a trickle becomes a river. You look up one day and that quiet little habit has built you a safety net, an opportunity fund, a quiet confidence. And that confidence changes how you walk, how you speak, how you live. Don't wait to see what's left over. Pay yourself first automatically, and without excuse, let your actions speak to your future. Let me give it to you straight. If you don't know where your money went last month, you're not in control, you're guessing. And the road to wealth was never paved with guesses. One of the most powerful disciplines I ever adopted was the habit of tracking every dollar. Not most of them, every single one. Because if money slips through your fingers without accountability, you're not managing it, you're reacting to it. I remember a conversation I had with my mentor back when I was broke and blaming the world. He asked me, "How much did you spend on food last month?" I shrugged, "Probably not much." He paused, smiled, and said, "Show me." That hit me. I couldn't. I had no record. That moment was my wake-up call. If a business ran its finances the way I ran mine, it would have been bankrupt in 3 months. And sadly, that's where most people are headed. From that day, I started treating my personal finances like a business. I opened a little notebook, wrote my income on one side and my expenses on the other. Rent, food, gas, even the occasional coffee. I began reviewing it every week, not with guilt, but with curiosity. Where was my money flowing? What habits were costing me more than I realized? Over time, I moved from the notebook to index cards, then to spreadsheets. Today, you've got apps that do half the work for you. But the principle hasn't changed. Awareness precedes change. You cannot change what you're unaware of. The simple act of writing down what you spent this week can expose patterns that are silently robbing you and empower you to take control. Here's what you'll find when you begin this discipline. Peace. Yes, peace. Because uncertainty creates anxiety. But clarity? Clarity gives you power. You'll begin to feel like the CEO of your own finances, not just an employee running from paycheck to paycheck. You'll start making intentional decisions instead of emotional ones. And it doesn't take hours. 10 minutes a week. A monthly review, that's all. But it's everything. Because the moment you become the accountant of your own life, your money starts to behave better. And better behavior from your money, that's the beginning of wealth. You see, there's a subtle but powerful difference between those who stay broke and those who build wealth. The broke mindset is always asking, what can I buy next? But the wealthy mindset, it asks, what can I build next? You've got to discipline yourself to become a creator, not just a consumer. The world is full of consumers. What we need are builders, people who take what they know, what they've learned, what they've lived, and turn it into something of value. I used to work just to pay the bills. That's it. I was like a financial hamster on a wheel. I'd wake up, work hard, spend what I earned, and repeat the cycle. One day my mentor looked at me and said, "That's not living, that's surviving. You're not building anything, you're just exchanging time for money." That struck me like a bolt of lightning. I realized I had to stop working just for a paycheck and start working to create something that could eventually work without me. Now that's a different way to live. When you shift from consumption to creation, everything changes. Instead of asking, what should I buy with this $100? You start asking, what can I build with this $100? A skill? A digital product? A service that solves a problem? An investment that grows quietly over time? Suddenly, you're not just reacting to life, you're engineering it. Even the smallest act of creation is powerful. Maybe you love baking, turn that into a recipe blog or a weekend side business. Maybe you've got years of experience, package it into a course or offer consulting. Maybe you're good with numbers. Teach budgeting to young families. We live in an era where access and opportunity are no longer the barriers, it's mindset. That's it. Your job isn't just to work for money, it's to build something so that money eventually works for you. That could be a skill, a product, a team, an asset. You don't need millions to start. You just need a decision to stop only consuming and start creating. Because the moment you build something that lasts, something that pays you while you sleep, that's the moment you stop surviving and start creating a legacy. We live in a world addicted to immediacy, fast money, quick results, overnight success. But let me tell you something that may save you decades of struggle. Anything worth building takes time. Financial strength, real wealth, is built slowly, patiently over years, not days. And it's not because the process is slow. It's because your thinking needs to stretch far beyond the moment. Wealth begins with one powerful shift, thinking long term. When I was younger, I used to get excited about quick wins. A small bonus check would come in and I'd spend it by Friday. I had no concept of direction, only impulse. Then one day my mentor sat me down and said, "You're planting seeds and eating them the same day." That hit me hard. No farmer eats the seed. He plants it, waters it, waits patiently, and then reaps a harvest later. Wealth works the same way. You have to develop what I call financial patience. That's the ability to keep doing the right things over and over, saving, investing, learning, building, even when you don't see immediate results. That's how compounding works. Whether it's compounding interest, compounding skills, or compounding discipline, the principle is the same. Small steps taken consistently become something enormous over time. You've got to avoid emotional decisions. Markets go up, markets go down, so do moods, opinions, even incomes. But your plan, that should remain rock solid. I've seen people sabotage years of good decisions because of one bad week, one moment of fear, one rash reaction. Don't let temporary emotion destroy long-term progress. That's not wealth building. That's gambling with your future. When I first started investing, it wasn't glamorous, it wasn't exciting, it was $10 here, $25 there. But over time, it became momentum. Then it became habit. Then it became strength. I didn't get rich in a weekend. I got wealthy by thinking beyond the weekend. So here's my advice. Whatever plan you've set, whether it's saving, investing, building a business, or learning a skill, stick with it. Water it. Guard it. Believe in it. Because the magic is not in the moment. It's in the repetition. And if you can master the long-term view, you'll look back one day and realize that slow and steady wasn't just the best path, it was the only one worth taking. You see, there comes a point in life when money is no longer just about lifestyle. It becomes about legacy. Not what you buy, but what you build. Not what you leave behind in your bank account, but what you leave behind in the hearts and habits of the people who watched you live. The wealthy don't just accumulate, they educate. They don't just spend, they set a standard. That's the difference between consuming and constructing something that outlives you. When I was younger, I thought success meant having more than my neighbor, a nicer car, a bigger house, finer clothes. But those things fade. The paint chips, the engine breaks, the fashion changes. What lasts is what you pass on, not your luxury, but your logic. Not your purchases, but your principles. And if you never take the time to involve your family, your children, your spouse, even your friends in your financial philosophy, then your success dies with you. I remember one conversation with a man who had earned well over $1 million in his lifetime, but he told me with tears in his eyes, "Jim, my son doesn't know the value of $1. And I asked him, "Did you ever show him what value looks like?" That silence told me everything. If you manage money with secrecy and avoidance, those around you will inherit silence and confusion. But if you teach, if you lead, if you open the books, even metaphorically, then you give them something far greater than wealth, wisdom. Involve your family. Sit down once a month, not to preach, but to share. Talk about the budget. Discuss savings goals. Explain how investments work. And most importantly, show them your thinking, because that's the real treasure. The way you decide, the way you sacrifice, the way you give, that's what they'll remember. I kept journals. notes on decisions. Why I gave here, why I invested there, what I learned when I lost. Those pages weren't for accountants. They were for my children, my grandchildren, and for anyone who might one day ask, how did he do it? Because the ultimate wealth is not in your possessions, it's in your principles. And the day you start living like someone is watching and learning, that's the day you begin to build a legacy.